If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and enjoy the show. What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be going over Canelo Alvarez, a very important statistic that nobody is talking about in boxing. And we could talk all day about Saul's overall career record. We know about how shiny it is. We know that he's 60 wins, 2 losses, and that he's 168 undisputed. Some would say he's one of the greatest super middleweights of all time. If you had been watching the channel a couple weeks ago, what I did was I took his whole career, his 64 total fights, and we created a strength of schedule by focusing on his opponent's win-loss ratio throughout his entirety. Today, we're going to do something similar, but really focus on the whole, what have you done for me lately? We're going to focus on Canelo's last 10 fights. And how we're going to do this, we're going to add the stats up and we're going to develop his strength of schedule, basically his resume. Who has he beaten? Who's he lost to? And we're going to come up with a percentage based on statistics. So you could cheer for him, you could cheer against him, but at the end of this video, you'll at least have some hardcore facts to talk about when mentioning Canelo Alvarez. So today, guys, we're going to start at the Danny Jacobs fight, and we're going to work our way all the way up to Jermell Charlo. Before we break it down a bit, let's talk a little bit about who he fought and that resume. 10 fights ago, he fought Danny Jacobs, then Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith, Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, Dimitri Bivol, the third meeting with Triple G, John Ryder, and then the aforementioned Jermell Charlo. Before we continue, I should also mention, guys, that these stats are added up on the nights that they fought Canelo. So when Jermell took on Canelo, he was 35-1. After he finished Canelo with the fight, he's 35-2. So keep that in mind. Those statistics make up this percentage, which we're about to do. If you take all of those 10 fights, starting with Danny, finishing on Mel, all of his opponents came into the fights with 296 wins with only 14 losses. Only a few fighters on his resume even had more than 1 loss. You had Ryder with 5 losses, Yildirim had 2, Kovalev had 3, and Danny Jacobs had 2. Canelo Alvarez in those last 10 also has beaten 3 undefeated fighters. He does have 1 loss. He lost to Dimitri Bivol, but he beat Caleb Plant when Caleb was 21-0. He beat Callum Smith when Callum was 27-0. And he also beat Billy Joe Saunders when Billy Joe was at 30-0. If we want to compare this to his career total resume, we once again took all of Canelo's 64 fights, which totaled 1,353 wins and 221 losses, which gives Canelo an 86% career win-loss ratio. The reason why the last 10 fights, he's at 95%, 10% higher, because, guys, A, statistics, the more numbers you're thrown out, a bigger career, the less chance you have of being it higher, A, and then B, in a boxing career path, they're not going to face the toughest competition at the beginning of their careers. It's going to be towards the tail end, especially if they're undisputed champion like Canelo. So to say that his last 10 fights have been walkthroughs would definitely be a lie. He's faced a lot of tough opponents. And if you ask me, he's had a few knockouts, but I like talking about my favorite fight of the last 10 was actually his 8th round knockout of Billy Joe Saunders. Billy came in there at 30-0, and the reason why this was my favorite fight and my favorite win of Canelo's last 10 is because if you look at the scorecards, if you would have watched the fight, you could see the momentum kept shifting back and forth, but it wasn't a wash. Billy Joe is a hell of a boxer, but as you started to see what Canelo was doing, similar to what he did years prior to Amir Khan, he gives his opponents a sense of false security simply to use their aggression against them, to set them up with a counter, and Canelo did this exact thing to Billy Joe, redistributing Billy Joe's face, forcing him actually into retirement. Another interesting point on that fight is that going into the 8th round, the judges' scorecards, one judge had it 77-75, so a swing round here and there, it's an even fight going into the 8th, and the other two had it 78-74. So it was a close fight, and to see Canelo's work come to fruition how it did with that devastating knockout was absolutely brilliant. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends, and if you want me to feature one of your favorite fighters, let me know in the comment section below.
Suddenly, Canelo throws it into another gear,